Hello, guys. This is Vineet from Edge Forex. Today is Friday the 13th, and I was trying to avoid, I was hoping I wouldn't have to say it, but it is what it is. And a lot of Friday the 13th kind of things are happening in the marketplace around the globe, and the way things are unfolding is not looking very good, guys. And as Forex traders, we need to be on top of what's happening in the forex markets. Not only in forex markets, we have to be on top of how things are unfolding geopolitically, because they have direct impact on our trading, on how certain prices move. Because, for example, this big attack from Israel to Iran, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that, hey, that's going to have an effect on the oil prices around the world. Now, I'm going to talk about that. I want to talk about how a tragic accident unfolded yesterday um, in India, in the state of Gujarat, where a huge Dreamliner 787 air belonged to Air India, carrying over 240 passengers, is had a crash. It crashed like within 1 minute of taking off, and then only one passenger survived and everybody else died. So it's really heart wrenching. It's very saddening. And as Edge Forex, our heart goes out to all the families that are affected and all the little kids that lost their parents, and all the parents who lost their kids. As a company, we our condolences for them, and we send them our best, and I hope whoever God they believe in gives them enough strength to deal with the tragedy. Now, that was a huge loss of life, which, in my opinion, I have my own theory as to what had happened, because I spent 3-4 hours actually looking into it today. And it's my preliminary belief that it had nothing to do with um, engine failure or sabotage or any of it. And in my opinion, because I know a thing or two about how planes work and what are the certain sequences that must happen once the plane takes off. And I think, again, this is conjecture. What I mean is just a guess. It's just my opinion that I think there was certain amount of pilot failure or pilot error involved in this crash. And why do I say that? That is not the topic of discussion for us here. Maybe you can send me a DM or a private message, and I would love to share my theory, or maybe I'll make another video and post it on my personal channel and not here on my personal site. I have a theory, and I think it's pretty compelling, and I think everybody is going down the wrong path as to the cause and effect for this particular crash. And it's pretty saddening. It's I think these lives, these souls could have saved. I think this was a very small pilot error that could have been avoided. And going forward, hopefully it'll come to light, and then Boeing and all the other airlines put certain safeguards in place to avoid such a common thing. And again, as I said, it's not a topic of discussion for our talk here, but maybe, I'll make another video and I'll put it on my personal channel or on my personal site, and maybe share the link here on our Edge Forex social media, so you guys can go and follow that. Now, that said, let's move to the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, which is shaking the world right now, shaking the geopolitical world, and making a huge noise in the marketplace, and it's causing havoc in the commodities market, in the currency markets all over the place, is the Israel strike on Iranian's nuclear and military sites. Now, this is the biggest attack that Israel has ever done or made on Iran or Iranian sites, and we are watching that unfold in real time. See, that's what happened now. Everything is real time. You get live updates. you get, and markets are reacting to it live. Earlier, 20, 30, 40 years ago, things were these like not live, like there was a lag. There used to be faxes going over, so there was the only way you could get your information, your news, was through news channels which were controlled by certain entities. Now we have social media, now we have independent news outlets that are actually giving you have so many sources where you get the news from. At times, you have to be very careful as to which news outlet or which social media outlet you need to follow, because you have so much news being bombarded at you at the real time basis. And I would hate for you guys to make a biased decision, and then make a trade based on that biases. So you need to keep your biases outside the door and look at it as objective as possible. So now we are looking at this conflict between Israel and Iran unfold absolutely, like, in front of our eyes. And I know I'm going to be up all night, see how, because these kind of retaliations and answers to their retaliations, they happen during the nighttime. And I am going to be up pretty much all night following how things may unfold, because it affects me and affects our traders in a very direct manner, because it affects our trades. It affects the currencies that are being affected, like, Swiss franc is getting stronger. All the commodity currencies are getting stronger because the oil is getting higher and higher. So now, till yesterday, the day before yesterday, oil was as dull a trade as they came, and the oil commodities and other commodity trades were as dull as they came. But now all of a sudden, there's a fire in the oil markets. Now all the commodity markets are going higher and higher because certain things, there's so much uncertainty in the market space right now. And the reason why, and that's the other thing, I really, really wanted to talk to you guys about why in certain terms, US dollar is actually taking a hit when it used to be a safe haven currency. Now, under these circumstances, US dollar is taking a hit. So it's a very interesting dilemma. If you go back, were there any kind of conflicts happening in the past, say 6 months or before that, anything like that happened? If you look at last year or the year before, anytime there's a geopolitical issue, Israel is attacking whoever, or there's the escalation in the Russian war, the first thing that used to happen was US dollar going higher. Now US dollar is taking a hit. Now that's the mystery I would like to talk to you about, and also get your opinion on what you guys think as to why US dollar is taking a hit and commodity currencies are going higher. So that's very, very interesting. And it got me thinking. I've got my own theories, which I will share with you guys. Okay, so let's look at some charts as to how things are moving in the marketplace, and it'll give us some ideas as to where things may be headed next hours, weeks, days, months, whatever. All right, guys. So you are looking at the crude oil chart. Okay. So if things are rather calm, if I say take this last bit out, things are rather calm and going sideways. No real excitement in the marketplace. Things are going between 58 to 62, and then certain rumors are coming out that, hey, Israel, the US, this is where I'm gonna draw a line here. This is where US came out and said that, hey, all the non-essential staff should vacate the embassies and consulates and be on top alert in the Middle East. So that tells me that, hey, something is about to unfold. Something is about to happen in the Middle East very, very soon. So I started following that. And then you see this huge candle. This is when Israel attacked Iran. So now all of a sudden, oil prices go from, say, $60, $61 per barrel all the way up to 78. So that's a 30% move in a day, in a matter of minutes, not even day, matter of minutes to an hour. So prices shot up by 30% in a commodity that is huge. And the oil is the biggest commodity in the entire globe. And now 30% move in a matter of hours is huge. But you will think that, hey, oil is only traded in US dollars. Why didn't the dollar shoot up at the same pace? It didn't. But those are the questions I want you guys to think about. Those are the questions I want you guys to talk about and give your brain a little bit of a exercise as to how and why, if the oil is going so high so fast, why is dollar taking a hit? That is the $1 million question. And if you have an answer to that, you are the next millionaire, guys. All right. Anyway, so now I wanted to show you guys how oil unfolded as the war, as the Israelis attacked the Iranian nuclear sites. So now that said, let's look at some of the other currencies. So now the oil shot up. So now let's look at an oil currency, Canadian dollar. Look at the Canadian dollar, USD CAD. You're looking at USD CAD pair where every candle is 4 hours, and see what happened during the last. And Canadian dollar is getting stronger. So now the chart going lower, so it's telling you how much Canadian dollar one US dollar can buy. So now, as you can see, one US dollar can buy 1.35 Canadian dollars. And earlier, say a month ago, it was buying 1.40. So it has lost 4% in matter of a month, but looks like the move is getting accelerated. Why? Because you need to ask yourself, what is it that Canada exports the most? How does Canada make its money? It makes its money by selling crude oil, and that is what's actually getting really, really high right now. And as long as crude oil is going higher, Canadian dollar is going to strengthen as well. So you have to follow this very carefully. Now, if you guys are not on this trade, it's a good idea to actually kind of start putting your toes in this trade. Maybe open a small position and see how it plays out in the next few days to a few weeks. I think it's a good trade in the making. So now that said, that was Canadian dollars. All right, so let's look at another chart which I wanted to talk about was gold. See here. Now, we are looking at gold spot. So every candle that we're looking at is a 4-hour chart, and boom, you can see how the gold is catching a bit and is going higher as the strike happened. And now it's above $3,400 per troy ounce. This is the highest, or very close to the all-time high. The all-time high right now is around 3,490 or say 3,500. So it's within 2 to 3% of all-time highs. And I have been preaching, or I've been shouting from the rooftop that, guys, if you are not in gold, if you have not invested at least 10 to 15% of your portfolio in gold, you are making a biggest mistake of your lifetime when it comes to your finances. Okay, I am still saying, even though it's sitting within 1% of its all-time high, I think gold has a lot higher to grow, a lot higher to go. So that said, and with all this geopolitical risk that is happening in the marketplace right now, and geopolitical risks that are driving the marketplace, I think gold is primed to benefit the most out of anything else in the marketplace right now. So let's look at some other thing I wanted you guys to look at. Now you'll see that Canadian dollar, okay, it's strengthening beautifully. And what's not strengthening is another commodity market, another commodity currency is the Australian dollar. Australian dollar is just yawning. It's not doing anything. But on the other hand, let's look at Canadian dollar. As I showed before, it is going bananas. See, again, it's going down. That means Canadian dollar is actually strengthening. So for every US dollar, you're getting less and less Canadian dollar. But why isn't that happening to, say, Australian dollar or Aussie? All right. So now Aussie is stuck between, say, 100 pips of where it was, say, 5 days, 10 days, 15 days ago. But on the other hand, Canadian dollar is getting all the action. And in my opinion, Australia is not a big exporter of oil. Australia exports the lumber, which is the wood, and iron ore that it actually exports to China. And right now, China is in the middle of this huge trade war with the US, and that is why there is no demand for the goods or commodities coming out of Australia. So all the demand, see, the oil demand will never go low, will never go under a certain amount. Okay, the world needs a certain amount of oil every day to run. Okay, that will never change. But lumber demand or wood demand or iron ore demand is very based on the demand, is based on the all the orders that are sitting in the US factories. That's where it's not in the US factories, but Chinese factories or in the European factories. And if those factories are shut because of all these trade wars with Trump and these countries, the demand for these commodities is absolutely zero. And so the commodity currencies like Australian dollar, New Zealand dollars is low. So now we know, okay, why Canadian dollar is going high, because the oil is going high. Why Aussie dollar or New Zealand dollar are not doing anything? It is because of the commodity demand is so low, is next to absolutely nothing. So now, but as soon this is my prediction here, that as soon as trade deals are finalized, as soon as Trump and China and Trump and EU, they strike a deal. Watch out, guys. Watch out for these currencies. Watch out for AUD getting strengthened. Watch out for NZD or New Zealand dollar getting strengthened. But also watch out for, that's my segue into US dollar. And I wanted to kind of tie the whole thing together, where why I think US dollar is not catching a bid here. This is a chart you're seeing is US dollar, euro, US dollar. So EUR USD chart you're looking at. And if you look at for we're going last February, it is on an upward trajectory. That means euro is buying more and more dollars. So in the beginning of, say, in February, it was pretty much at par. Okay, euro would buy $1.02. Now a euro is buying $1.15. So that's a 15% increase in the world's reserve currency. And that is huge, guys. That is so big. That does not happen on a regular basis. And why that is happening? Again, that circles back to the trade war. That circles back to the Trump's trade war that he is waging against the world. What is happening is all these countries that used to supply their finished goods, like China, like Australia, like Europe, especially their cars, like Japan, they have sent all these goods over to the US, and now there is no, and they're sitting on this huge supply of US dollars, because now they're not getting any new orders because there is such a big trade war that is going on, and they are sitting on this huge supply of US dollars. Now they don't know what to do with it. So they are dumping US dollars in the marketplace because they have to raise their own currencies. And the longer this trade war goes, the worse it gets for the US dollars. So now, as soon as these trade wars are reversed, as soon as that happens, watch, US dollar is going to pop like anything. It is going to break records. So now I'm expecting US dollars to go back down to its 102 to par level in the short term, and a lot lower Euro USD in the medium to long term. So now that's what's happening in the US dollar. So let's go look at some other currencies. I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when a currency is collapsing, what a currency collapse looks like. So now if we look at Turkish Lira, so now in the same time, US dollar fell 15%, Turkish Lira fell over 30%. Now that's a real-time crash of a currency. And let me zoom out. Okay, guys? Now, if I go back, zoom out even further. All right. So if I go, say, 2000, let's go back to 2020. So 2020, a US dollar could buy 6 Turkish Lira. So for every US dollar, you would get 6 Turkish Lira. Now, fast forward to today, every US dollar is getting you 45 Turkish Lira. Now that is 80% decline in a currency in a matter of half a decade, 5 years. Imagine what's going to happen to their cost of living. Imagine the inflation rates. Imagine how difficult their lives are going to be in Turkey. Now it used to call Turkey, now they have a new name, Turkey. So things are absolutely crazy in Turkey, and it's not a happy place to be at this time. So again, I wanted to show you guys what's happening in the marketplace, and how there are a couple of unfortunate events, especially around the crash in Air India and around Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear sites. Um, I always hope there's a peaceful solution, but if sides that are so extreme and they're so hell-bent on destroying each other, this is really, really unfortunate, in my opinion, was totally, totally avoidable. And so was the Air India crash. In my opinion, it was a pilot error. I'll upload another video around it. And I think it was a totally, totally avoidable crash. And these 241 deaths were a huge waste of life that could have been avoided so, so, so easily. Now, that said, I want you guys to have a really, really good weekend. And if something dramatic happens, if something dramatic unfolds, I will come back and give you guys an update. And in the meantime, you guys take care of yourself and have a great weekend. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you.